I'm not sure. Mike, check in with Dave. I think the studio's on fire. Oh, okay. Well, why would I have something like this making that kind of a sound? Well, it's all about the sounds, because with us today we have Kendall, who is a radio personality for WXCI. Is there a jingle that goes along with that? Is there like a WXCI or something like that?
I think we should recruit you to do that, because we do not have.
You should. Because remember, WKRP in Cincinnati had WKRP in Cincinnati.
True. I still distinctly remember like Wolfman Jack too.
He had one. They all had. You've been on the air for how much? 30 years? You've been on 20 years.
I've been on 18 years for Third Stone.
Yeah.
And 21 years at the station. Yeah, I'm the longest running active member there, life member. Well, member, but I'm a life member. I was honored with life membership. So, yeah, I'm still there.
We've got I think a couple of shows that have been on Comcast for 20 years. One of them being Kevin Gallagher's show. But I think Kevin Gallagher's disputing that, calling it a conspiracy theory that he's actually been on for 20 years. Because that's sort of the theme of his show, is a bit on this conspiratorial side. But thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, it's great.
Welcome to Progressive Soup. My name is David Stevenson. With us we have with Kendall, and Kendall actually has a first name. I'm not sure whether she's going to divulge that, because remember how on Seinfeld how Kramer, nobody knew what Kramer's first name was until about eight years into the show. Yeah. So maybe tonight will be the night, perhaps, where Kendall announces what her real first name, if she has one. Her real first name.
I may do that. The only thing is I stand the chance of having people not pronounce it correctly, because I just decided to go with Kendall because a lot of people mispronounce my first name. And there's
look on the screen. They've got it up there. They beat you
too. It's Marcia. So
okay.
I used to get called Marcia. Of course, that that was not fun as a kid. So didn't
the
like
Brady
that.
Bunch, yeah.
Yes,
yes. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Not fun. So, and, a lot of times it just happens if I introduce myself and I say, hi, I'm Marcia, their mind somehow transforms that into Marcia. It's magic. It's bad magic.
It's people just have to automatically figure out how to attach it to something else that's similar. Like with my wife, Kristen. She's Kristen with two eyes. So I always tell people, bing, I, bing.
Right.
So Marcia could be like, there you go. Marcia could be like see ya.
Yeah.
Or something like that. See ya. Whenever somebody is leaving you, you can say, see ya.
True.
Maybe that'll be the way people will remember.
Kendall's a better name.
It's kind of cool. Yeah.
It's a good name. It's a popular first name now too.
Yeah.
So boys and girls. I like it because of that reason.
One of those gender neutral names.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what? They should all be that way. Let's face it. Why not?
So in honor of Earth Day, which it's not, but for all practical purposes, we can say every day is Earth Day. One of the shows you do is called Third Stone from the Sun.
Right.
Tell me where that name comes from, as if I didn't know growing up with another left-handed guitarist who passed away at the age of 27 who did a song by that name.
You're giving it away, Dave.
Go ahead.
It away,
so Third Stone from the Sun, where's that from?
Not to be mistaken with Third Rock from the Sun.
Okay, yeah.
That is a popular Hendrix. No, actually, it is not a popular Jimi Hendrix tune. And in fact, it is an instrumental tune. There's no vocals in it.
For the most part, except for the little bit where he says, then you'll never see. He's got the slow down, all wonders be, the mysterious Catholic man. Your people I do not understand.
Right.
So you must put an end. Then
You actually, hear. Dave, you know more than I do about that
you'll
song.
You'll never hear?
How can that, that's
I listened
amazing.
to it like 100 times when I was that age.
Did you?
Surf music again.
Okay, see, you got me beat there. But so the two guys that started the program, I have to give them credit, Big Ed and Steppin' Stone, they, wanted to put together this tribute to Jimi Hendrix. And this was back in 1990, they started the program.
Yeah.
And, they got a lot of help from friends and from Brian, who owns Jerosa Records. He,
Up in Brookfield,
he donated a lot of vinyl
Quick
to the
shout out to
program.
Brian.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, he's wonderful. And so those guys did that for 9 years, and it was a very male rock-oriented program. I don't want to pick on them, but it had a lot of testosterone. It was pretty loaded. So I took it over in '99, and I brought in everything under the sun. No pun intended. Little estrogen.
You had all the Stones that came in.
Folk, funk,
maybe
jazz, rock,
including the
blues.
Rolling Stones, perhaps?
Of course.
Okay.
I tried it now, but the premise of the show is really, well, exactly, Jimi Hendrix tune, Third Stone from the Sun. If you ask people about that song, they're not always familiar with it. The premise of the show was to always turn people on to music that they would expand their minds, kind of open their ears, and not play the mainstream stuff that the other classic rock stations were playing.
Yeah.
So whenever I play an artist like Hendrix, I don't play, All Along the Watchtower, Purple Haze. I try to get a lot of his really early blues influence in there. He was very heavily influenced by the blues. And so, but then of course, yes, I had to add a lot of female vocals and try to turn people on to a lot of groups that they may not know. It's so rich, the 60s and 70s. I mean, you had crazy names for bands like Chocolate Watch Band, 13th Floor Elevators, The Joy of Cooking is the name of a band.
That sounds like the name of a book, too.
Yeah, right, exactly. But that band is very
Which probably
very good.
came from the band.
Yeah. There's a song they do called Closer to the Ground. It's awesome, really good vocals. And so I try to also bring in female lead vocal singers, too. Like if I play Heart, for example, Ann and Nancy Wilson, fantastic duo. Nancy should be in the Hall of Fame, I think. She's an amazing guitar player, and so I try to, just spread the joy around of the 60s and 70s as much as I can. Yeah, take a lot of requests, and I have been very educated by the listeners of the program. I wouldn't be where I am without them, because they'll call me up and say, have you heard of this band? Have you heard of that band? And now with the internet, of course, the entire world has opened up of the 60s and 70s, and I've learned a lot about some very obscure bands, and there are a lot of local influences, like Felix Cavallari from the Rascals.
The Rascals,
from Danbury. And Tracy Chapman actually lives in the area.
Went to
She's
Worcester
more
School.
80s. Right, she's more 80s, but...
She went to Worcester. My two daughters, quick shout out to Kim and Sarah, went to Worcester School.
Oh,
That's
awesome.
Where Tracy Chapman went.
Wishbone Ash from, I believe, Reading. Mary Travers lived in Reading.
Yep.
A lot of unbelievable talent in this area, so I try to also educate the listeners about the history behind the music as well, and those connections that we have locally. Yeah, it's good times.
So you mentioned you do some interviews, too.
Yeah.
One that you did quite a few years ago, it was fairly long after Woodstock, but...
18 years ago, 19 years, 17 years ago.
One of the performers at Woodstock.
John Sebastian.
Uh-huh.
He was amazing to interview, amazing. He was very open and candid about Woodstock, and it was the first time, and I'm sort of an unofficial Woodstock aficionado. I really am very into it. And he really educated me about the fact that he considered it a huge failure. It was a huge failure. They did,
what way?
He explained that there were not enough medical supplies. There certainly wasn't enough food to go around.
Yeah.
That they were not prepared for the amount of people that showed up. No one expected. They only sold 200,000 tickets.
Yeah.
You had almost 500,000 people there. They were very unorganized with the performers. A lot of performers who were scheduled to perform couldn't because they were too high, or just incapacitated to go on stage. And that's how John Sebastian ended up on stage. He hitched a ride from White Plains Airport, and with some roadies that were bringing equipment.
Yep.
It's all they could do is fly things in at that point.
Yeah.
And he was late, but he got a ride, and he was singing lullabies to people. He volunteered himself to sing lullabies to people in the medic tents that were having really bad acid trips on the quote brown acid. And you hear it on the recordings.
Yeah.
They said they make an announcement on the Woodstock record set that says, "Don't take the brown acid, brothers and sisters," And so John stepped in and tried to help out.
Yeah.
And then when Grace Slick couldn't go on stage when she was scheduled to because she was too inebriated, he said, they said, "Hey, can you go? John, you're here. Can you go?" And he was terrified. He borrowed Richie Haven's guitar.
Yeah.
And just went out there on stage, and the rest is history. I mean,
Yep.
he did a bang-up job, too, I think. He did a really good job. But he did talk about how overwhelming it was to stand on that stage in front of so many people. But what did impress him was that there was this unity there, that if someone needed something, everybody came together. There was no violence at Woodstock. There were a lot of successes, too. He only considered it a failure because it was so disorganized. They had not planned in advance for that amount of people. So
there I was, probably about 50 miles away from Woodstock at Tom Costello's All Sports Camp in Matamoros, Pennsylvania. And no shout out to Tom Costello because he was like a 10th string linebacker for the New York Giants and who managed to start up a sports camp. But we had seen the ad on the side of the building. Snarky.
we have a dog barking.
Yeah. Basil's sending a. You're not supposed to call in until about 20 minutes into the show, Basil. Yeah, you either, Snarky. So we saw the thing on the side of the building along 95, with the hand and the dove and the guitar, the advertisement for Woodstock. So we knew it was what it was about. We knew there was going to be a concert there. We know where Woodstock was, of course, because in the sheltered life of Fairfield County, you don't know anything outside of the Gold Coast of Fairfield County. But there it was at Tom Costello's All Sports Camp when the word broke about what was happening in Woodstock. And if I could have hitchhiked, I could have snuck out of camp and hitchhiked if I could have gotten there, but at that point you couldn't get there.
Right.
Because all the roads leading in were closed. Otherwise
Right.
I would have gladly have been there,
Yeah.
enjoying the experience. Hopefully not the brown acid, because seriously, who would we eat anything brown?
I think at that point they didn't care what color it was.
Except for hamburgers.
But you
yeah.
know, what an experience that. So I'm always looking for people too that were there to talk on the Woodstock program, which is usually the second, Sunday in August, and to talk about their experiences.
Maybe I could hook you up. You may know Ira and Maxine Stone.
I do. Aren't they from not Back to the Garden?
They live in Reading now. And I was a real estate agent along with me, not with me, but in a different company. But Ira was he played along, and I'm trying to think of his name, the first performer to go on stage at Woodstock. Ira was in with his group. And I'm taxing my brain to think of what the performer's name was, because it's only been
It's not Blackwater or not Blackwater.
Yeah.
Deep Water, no.
Something like that. Yeah. Clearwater or something like that.
No,
Not
Sweetwater.
That's them.
Yes.
That's them. So
Yeah.
Ira was in with that. I think Maxine
Yeah.
also.
Well, help a sister out, Dave. Come on, send them my way.
Because they've been on the show here.
I'd love to talk to them.
They came on right after Mary Travers passed away.
Yeah,
she
was scheduled to come on my show.
Yeah.
For that Woodstock show that year, and then I felt
Yeah.
I was so sad.
Yeah, Ira and Max came on and did a
Yeah.
tribute to Mary Travers. And we
That's
also had
great.
Seth Lefferts, who's a local musician and a very good one.
He does the Beatles thing.
Yes. That's Seth
yes.
Lefferts. Yep, he does
Yes.
these Sergeant Lefferts Lonely
Right.
Hearts Club Band.
I do know. I have met him, yes, and I believe I've heard him perform
He's
at
a
one of the
lot
summer
of fun.
festival things.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, so I'll get you Ira's contact information.
Great.
So you can reach out to him and get him on the show, because he and Max, when they had the 40th anniversary of Woodstock, ABC came up from New York and interviewed Ira and Max at their home in Reading to talk about Woodstock.
Yeah.
So it was, and that's right about the time that they came on Progressive Soup to perform, doing the Mary Travers tribute. Hey! Henry Pietras is in the audience! I'll make it sound like there's 1,000 people in the audience. But I will guarantee that Henry Pietras is the most important person in the audience right now, without a doubt. So continue. You want to talk a little bit more about your interview with John Sebastian and his observations?
He gave me a phone interview. I met him. He performed on the Green in Danbury for one of the concert series, and I just kind of walked backstage, and I thought, this is a little ballsy. I'm just going to walk right up to him, and nicest guy, you know. And when he came on again years later, but to talk about his jug band music that he was doing, and it was awesome. He sent me his album ahead of time, and I really liked that route that he took. Now, I don't know if a lot of people know this too, but at one time he had a pretty big crush on Maria Muldaur, who Midnight at the Oasis.
Oh, okay, that's her. Okay, yep.
Yes, and so that's something a lot of people may not know about him, but he was one of the best interviews I've had because of his honesty about, and his candor about the Woodstock experience, and how so many performers had to be rescheduled and moved around. And I think he told me that the Doors were offended because they weren't invited, and just things that you would not hear otherwise, his own personal perspective. And he said, it really impacted him, that whole experience, because he had never been exposed to that large of amount of people and the actual behind-the-scenes drama that was going on, with the
backstage
drugs
stuff, backstage getting everybody in and out.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was and he, as I recall, he made the cut from the movie.
I tell you who else was a wonderful interview. I'm going off the Woodstock topic a little bit, but a woman that who has a voice that I really admire is Annie Haslam from Renaissance.
Okay. And I've heard of the group, yep.
Now, she has an incredible range, and their music is so intricately arranged. Their arrangements and the instrumentation and the combination of all of the musicians together made that group very unique. She has a very unique sound, and she's classically trained, so you hear almost the opera in her voice, operatic range that she has, and hitting these octaves that just, you think would break glass, but then the low tones too, and the steadiness in her voice. I always admired that band, and I saw them in the city in Hudson Park, and I tried to, talk to her after the show, but she just wanted to get right on her bus and leave. So I finally got some contact information, and she was thrilled to do a phone interview. And also another person that I've connected with that I have really enjoyed. You talk about cult classics of the 60s and 70s. Is the inspiration behind Alice's Restaurant. Alice May Brock. I've interviewed her, and that was an incredible. She's very honest and somewhat opinionated, very strong personality, really easy to talk to, and gave me the whole behind-the-scenes scoops on Alice's Restaurant, and what the whole behind-the-scenes, where the idea came from, how she knew Arlo Guthrie, the fact that the guy that was on cocaine he was really, oh my goodness. Says hurry up and answer. Uh-oh.
Hey, how you doing? Okay. You know why I'm making this sound? You know why I'm making this sound? Because people are catching on to the fact that on your way out of Bethel, that you set that building on fire, you arsonist, you cat, you arsonist. So you better watch out because if the police come to me and ask me who did it, I'm going to have to give you up, Basil. Oh, but at any rate, Basil always calls in and he always makes me put in a word for Basil Buddha Cat Presents, which is also on YouTube and his Facebook page, Basil Buddha Cat. That's right. But Basil's got something to say, and I've got to say it in cat first, and then I'll translate.
Okay. Meow,
He said,
meow, woof, woof.
of course, now there's only 2 sounds in cat. There's and there's.
Well, don't forget the hiss.
Nah, doesn't count. That doesn't count. That's like an exclamation point.
Okay.
That's like an exclamation point. That's not even that's a real sound. But the 2 sounds, when you combine